The world can see us now. Hare Krishna. Although they were impartial by nature, those followers of the Vedanta blessed me with their causeless mercy. As far as I was concerned, I was self-controlled and had no attachment for sports, even though I was a boy. In addition, I was not naughty and I did not speak more than required. So basically, Narada Muni is saying, well, this is a qualification. He had good qualification. I just heard someone, I don't know who said this, he said, better than enthusiasm is self-discipline, if you want to be successful. So I was self-controlled, not attached to sports. I did not speak more than required. Good qualification, right? In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says, all the Vedas are searching after me. Lord Sri Chaitanya says that in the Vedas, the subject matters are only three, namely to establish the relation of the living entities with Krishna, to perform duties in devotional service, and to achieve the ultimate goal. Thus, the Vedanta Vadis, or followers of Vedanta, are the pure devotees of Krishna. Such Vedanta Vadis, or Bhakti Vedantas, are impartial in distributing the transcendental knowledge of devotional service. To them, no one is enemy or friend, no one is educated or uneducated. No one is especially favorable and no one is unfavorable. The Bhakti Vedantas see that the people in general are wasting time in false, sensuous things. Their business is to get the ignorant mass of people to reestablish their lost relationship with Krishna. By such endeavor, even the most forgetful soul is roused up to the sense of spiritual life. And thus, being initiated by the Bhakti Vedantas, the people in general gradually progress on the path of transcendental realization. Prabhupada have a globe in his office, and say, Shama Sundar, spin the globe. Where should we go next? It was like Prabhupada was like the whole world. Where have we not gone yet? So we can give Krishna consciousness. And you see Prabhupada doing globetrotting is like, when he found out he could go to Russia, that was like a highest ecstasy. He could go to Russia. When Prabhupada finally got able to go to Russia, that was like, didn't get any better than that for Prabhupada. The place where people had never heard about Krishna. Let's go there. And Prabhupada he wasn't thinking like, oh, well, these people are useless, we won't go there. It's like everywhere. And then you may know the story, he went to Africa, and a lot of Indians are in Africa. Born there, or they moved there from India. And so when Prabhupada went to Nairobi, it was like all Indians coming. And he said, where's the Africans? We didn't come to preach to the Indians, we came to preach to the Africans. He did that in England also. When I think he first came to England, it was all Indians. He goes, where's the local people? So, Prabhupada, they're all malechas. Useless. No, I want to speak to the local people. Yes. So the Vedanta Vadis initiated the boy even before he became self-controlled and was detached from childish sporting. But before the initiation, the boy became more and more advanced in discipline, which is very essential for one who wishes to make progress in the line. In the system of Varnashram, more and more advanced in discipline, yeah. In the system of Varnashram, which is the beginning of actual human life, small boys, after 5 years of age, are sent to become brahmacharis at the Guru's ashram, where these things are systematically taught to every boy, be he a king's son or the son of an ordinary citizen. The training was compulsory. So he actually was initiated. I have to take back what I said last night. I mean, that's what Prabhupada says here. Well, it's interesting. He was initiated, but Narada Muni doesn't exactly say that. And what Prabhupada means by initiated. I mean, they were instructing him, but we don't get any kind of story of an actual, what that initiation actually meant. Before the initiation, he, the boy, became more and more advanced in discipline, which is very essential for one who wishes to make progress in the system of varnashram, which is the beginning of human life. Small boys, after 5 years of age, are sent to become brahmacharis at the Guru's ashram, where these things are systematically taught to every boy, be he a king's son or the son of an ordinary citizen. The training was compulsory, not only to create good citizens of the state, but also to prepare the boy's future for spiritual realization. The irresponsible life of sense enjoyment was unknown to the children of the followers of the varnashram system. A boy was even injected with spiritual acumen before being placed by the father in the womb of the mother. Both the father and the mother were responsible for the boy's success in being liberated from the material bondage. That is the process of successful family planning. It is to beget children for complete perfection, without being self-controlled, without being disciplined, and without being fully obedient. No one can become successful in following the instructions of the spiritual master. And without doing so, no one is able to go back to Godhead. Whoa, hope that didn't ruin your day. I will read that again. All right, I give up. Without being self-controlled, without being disciplined, and without being fully obedient, no one can become successful in following the instructions of the spiritual master. Without doing so, no one is able to go back to Godhead. So I think one thing that is meant by initiation of these sadhus accepted him and accepted him as someone they could give knowledge to, because in the Gurukul system, you're given Gayatri mantra when you're like 8 years old, and then once you have that mantra, it's like your initiation into, now you will learn from the Guru, and he won't. If you're not initiated, he won't speak to you. So the initiation is like an acceptance. You are qualified to hear, otherwise we won't waste our time with you. So Narada is saying, well, these are my qualifications, so they accepted me. So whether it was like a formal initiation, he was given Gayatri mantra, but they accepted him because he had good qualities, and therefore he was a worthy candidate. Yeah, so that's the essence of initiation, that you're qualified to hear. Because, there is a kind of initiation where you don't actually hear or learn. You're given a mantra, and then you can worship the deity, but it doesn't mean even that guru is teaching you how to worship the deity. But in the most fundamental sense, initiation means you are hearing, you are learning, and you are now qualifying yourself to hear, because hearing is like everything. So that's really what's happening here, and he is stating his qualifications for hearing, right? Like, there's a story. I heard it straight from there are 2 devotees that Prabhupada rejected, and I heard the story straight from one of the devotees' wives. Well, she's his former wife. And basically what happened is that these devotees had issues with the leadership in ISKCON, and they had some faith issues also in believing some things in Shastra which seemed outrageous to them, and they wanted Prabhupada to explain it. So they were trying to understand logically, and Prabhupada was making the point that these things are not important, and it's not going to make sense to you in your present state. They still kept asking the same questions, and Prabhupada kept saying, you can't understand. And they're saying, but we need to be able to explain these things to people. They were just like things that nobody's going to ask anyway. things that don't make, like they're asking like, well, in this kingdom, Ugrasena had like millions of bodyguards. Where did they all go to the toilet? Asking questions like that. And Prabhupada's like, what do you need to know? Like, in his kingdom, there were so many people. How could that actually be true? They wouldn't even, be able to, there wouldn't be a system for so many people to live so closely together, like. And then, so that was one problem. And then another problem was they had issues with the GBC, and they found fault with the management of the GBC, or found fault with some of the things the GBC were saying that they didn't agree with. So Prabhupada didn't find these two devotees reasonable people. And so, but anyway, they said, Prabhupada, we don't want to follow GBC, we just want to follow you. And Prabhupada said, good, you follow me, and I tell you, follow the GBC. Yeah, it's like, all right. You're trapped. He says, if you want to follow me, this is what I want you to do. No, but we don't want to follow them. They're not perfect. You're perfect. We want to follow you. Okay, follow me. My instructions, follow them. So that was going nowhere. And it was really upsetting Prabhupada. And they were adamant. They just wouldn't accept what Prabhupada said. And Prabhupada got frustrated. And he said something like, I am not as advanced as you. I need a guru. You don't need a guru. Which was like, bye-bye, you're not my disciple. So a kind of maybe a polite way, instead of saying, get out of here, I don't want to see your ugly face ever again, until you come back in a humble mood. It's like, you don't need a guru. So then Prabhupada said, then this is how you know you've been rejected by your guru. When your guru says, do whatever you want. So this is what you should do. Well, but I don't know, I can't follow them and this and that. So that was going on and on. It wasn't just like 2 minutes, it was going on and on. And Prabhupada said, oh, so do whatever you want. If your guru says do whatever you want, I mean, should I cook, oatmeal or, farina or oats? Well, do whatever you want. That's different. But if it's like, what should I, but, do whatever you want. In other words, so Prabhupada, it's like, you don't need a guru. So a guru is one who instructs you in. So basically, Narada he's just describing here the qualification of a disciple. He said, like, I was sense controlled, I wasn't into sports, I didn't speak gossip and so forth. So they looked at me and said, oh, 5 years old, but you have the qualifications of a disciple. So you're initiated. What that initiation was, it's hard to say, but the real initiation is that you are qualified to hear. And that like traditionally, initiation was just, are you qualified to hear? That's what it was. You're qualified to hear. Can you control yourself enough that you can hear and apply? And if so, then you're initiated in the sense that now you're a disciple. And traditionally, gurus did not speak to people in general. They only spoke to disciples because they didn't want to waste their time, so to speak. Well, now Kali Yuga, it's different. But traditionally, the guru would not speak to the public. He would only speak to disciples because they were the only ones that he felt were qualified to hear him. And so the initiation was, okay, now you're going to be initiated and you'll be qualified. You're initiated, which means we're recognizing your qualification. Then you will follow principles to maintain that qualification, and then now you can hear. That's it. Simple, right? Should I read that one heavy statement at the end again?
Yes.
Without being self-controlled, without being disciplined, and without being fully obedient, no one can become successful and following the instructions of the spiritual master. And without doing so, no one is able to go back to Godhead. So really this chapter is a delineation on the guru-disciple relationship, because Narada Muni is like, even though he's 5, he's like the perfect disciple. And then he says, they were kind on him and they instructed him because they saw he was capable. So, naturally, the teacher is always wants to help the student. And when the teacher sees the student is anxious to learn, then he's very happy to give instruction. So they were happy to instruct. Okay. Can you read the next verse? Once only, by their permission, I took the remnants of their food, and by so doing, all my sins were at once eradicated. Thus, being engaged, I became purified in heart, and at that time, the very nature of the transcendentalist became attractive to me. So it was like instant mercy, instant purification from taking prasadam. So what Narada Muni is saying, I took their prasadam, it was like, ta-da! Lights went off. And all of a sudden, after eating whatever it is they gave, all of a sudden everything about Krishna is like attractive. I just want to hear, I want to chant. It's just like the lights got turned on just from taking prasadam. What do you think? I know what you're thinking. I've taken prasadam, that didn't happen to me. Well, those commercials about some new prescription drug, take this drug and, you'll look like you're 20 years old, even if you're 800 years old. Yeah. Results may vary. You know that. Little disclaimer, results may vary. So it's just like, this is like what it can do, results may vary. And, how you take the prasadam, how you honored it, the mood you're in and all that. But it's just showing that when you contact a pure devotee in any way, it can have dramatic effects on your life. So much so that all of a sudden Krishna becomes attractive. And that's a sign that you're advancing. Like when we first became devotees, right? What's the first symptom of someone? This is the common symptom that always comes to me, like someone's a new devotee and they get into it, they start becoming serious. The most common thing they say is, I don't want to go to work anymore. It's like the first thing. Like, I can't do this, isn't it? Like, I don't like, hanging out with my friends, but it's so boring. They just want to talk about this and that. That's a sign that you got some mercy, and when you get mercy, then there's some attraction for Krishna. That's a sign. When you chant your rounds properly, then you like chanting. Krishna gives you some mercy, you like it. When you're not chanting well, sometimes it's like really, really difficult. There's no taste. So that's how mercy comes. So that's what he's saying, that it's almost like he's saying he came to the stage of ruchi just by taking prasadam. Anyway, let's read the purport. Pure devotion is as much infectious, in a good sense, as infectious diseases. A pure devotee is cleared from all kinds of sins. The personality of Godhead is the purest entity, and unless one is equally pure from the infection of material qualities, one cannot become a pure devotee of the Lord. The Bhakti Vedantas, as above mentioned, were pure devotees. And the boy became infected with their qualities of purity by their association and by eating once the remnants of foodstuff taken by them. So here's a key sentence. If you associate with a pure devotee, you'll become infected by their qualities. Of course, if you associate with anybody, you become infected with their qualities. So sometimes we'll associate with devotees and, we just feel inspired. We didn't do anything, we just sat there. And sometimes we sit with someone else and we feel contaminated. It's quite simple, isn't it? It's not like, whoa, pure devotee is some special mystical thing. No, they're just pure. And you're getting infected by the purity. Just as we get infected by the impurity of other people. Just we get infected.
Yes, in Dutch, infected has a negative connotation.
Yeah.
Something I thought blessed,
Yeah. It's like a disease.
Yeah.
But Prabhupada used that example. He said, you're infected. If I eat something and I'm infected and you eat it, you'll become infected. But if the pure devotee or Krishna eats it, then you'll become infected also in a positive sense. You become infected with his Krishna consciousness. I mean, Prabhupada used that. It's obviously not an infection, but in that sense, we're infected with something good. Such remnants, let's read that again. The Bhaktivedanta, as above mentioned, were pure devotees, and the boy became infected with their qualities of purity by their association and by eating once the remnants of the foodstuffs taken by them. Right. Such remnants may be taken even without permission of the pure devotees. There are sometimes pseudo-devotees, and one should be very much cautious about them. There are many things which hinder one from entering devotional service, but by the association of pure devotees, all these obstacles are removed. The neophyte devotees become practically enriched with the transcendental qualities of the pure devotee, which means attraction for the personality of Godhead's name, fame, quality, pastimes, etc. Infection of the qualities of the pure devotee means to imbibe the taste of pure devotion, always in the transcendental activities of the personality of Godhead. So I'm going to go back. Prabhupada says, this is interesting. The neophyte devotee becomes practically enriched with the transcendental qualities of the pure devotees, which means attraction. So when, in the, it was like amazing to see people join. I mean, it still happens, but especially during Prabhupada's time, people would join, and it's like 2-3 days later, it's like they'd been devotees their whole life. It's like, like if you walked in, you wouldn't know. Like, how long has he been a devotee? 25 years? No, he joined 3 days ago. But they just got this attraction by Prabhupada's mercy. They just, they're jumping up and down in kirtan like, they've been doing it all their lives. So, Prabhupada's coming to the West, it's a multifaceted project, because it's like his purity is rubbing off on everybody. Everybody's serving him, they're getting his association. And as Prabhupada says here, by that association, they're getting a taste. So you have, how could you spread Krishna consciousness unless people had a taste? Because otherwise people would come to the temple and they'd see a bunch of miserable people. This is so hard, I have to be celibate. I don't like it, I have to get up early, take cold showers, so miserable. It wasn't like that. Everybody was blissful. 4 a.m, hey, bo, jump in the cold shower, Hare Krishna, ecstatic, Prabhu. So it was like we're getting this like taste, and you're chanting for 2 hours, you're off the street. How do you do that? You're sitting there, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Where did that come from? It's like mercy, you're able to do it. So taste, we know taste is important, and then Prabhupada's giving taste is mercy. We need taste. If we lack taste, not a good sign. Danger, warning, alarm bells. Something's wrong. I don't know. Thinking about it. Just don't have the taste. Maybe tomorrow. It's not a good sign, right? Pick up the book, read like 2 sentences. This is boring. Go on Instagram. Watch something exciting. Right? You have something exciting you like to watch? Boxing, wrestling. Ladies would like that. Something else. My wife likes watching cooking shows. They have all these cooking drama shows, competition. You all have your favorite thing you like to watch to get excited. And if you get, mercy, you're just like, I want to read Bhagavatam. I want to read about Krishna. That's what I want. That's what excites me. So that's the sign you're getting mercy. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. The transcendental taste at once makes all material things distasteful. Therefore, a pure devotee is not at all attracted by material activities, not even elections. I heard there's an election coming up. Oh, that was in England. Is there an election coming up in Holland soon? Election?
Verkiezingen.
Politics.
Politics. It was here like a month ago.
Yeah. So it's very it's so like it draws you in, right? I made a Prabhupada, I heard just a few days ago, Prabhupada said, we shouldn't gossip. We are not interested in politics. You could talk about politics, right? 24/7, right? And Prabhupada said, we are not interested in politics. And so, not a good sign if we're interested. So some devotee sent me a talk about what's going on in America. And I heard the talk, and it was an oh my God moment, like, get me out of here, like, I can't stand it. And I just said, we have nothing to do with politics. It was like, why waste your time? It's like, it's just insane. Like, and you could be so absorbed in it forever, right? He said this and he said that, doing this because of that and that. And if he gets elected, it's so polarized in America. They're like, if he gets elected, that's the end of the country. And the other side says, if he gets elected, that's the end of the country. And they all have their reasons, right? So it's like, oh. And I'm looking at all this and I'm thinking, yeah, Prabhupada said, just gossip, no politics. And I said, okay, what's the point in being absorbed in it? But that's time it could be absorbed in hearing about Krishna, right? As if these politicians are like, competition for Yudhishthira Maharaj or something. You hear from them and... Anyway. But point being made here is that sign of advancement is you have a taste. You want to hear about Krishna. Therefore, a pure devotee is not at all attracted by material activities. After the elimination of all sins or obstacles on the path of devotional service, one can become attracted. One can have steadiness. One can have a perfect state. One can have transcendental emotions. And at last, one could be situated on the plane of loving service. All these stages develop by the association of pure devotees. And that is the purport of this stanza. There it is. That is the purport of this stanza. You can have everything comes from being with a pure devotee. hearing from pure devotees and taking their prasad and hanging with them. So what's the name of this lecture? Chilling with pure devotees. Yeah, that's the name of this lecture. Yeah. Okay, so why don't we take some questions? There's one here. We have a question. I have to see. How should a guru respect a disciple? Why should a guru not exceed his authority with his disciples? See more. I hit the see more button, but it doesn't want to see more. And in this day and age, can current gurus initiate? Can current gurus initiate dozens and then be unable to even recognize the disciple or give him attention? Well, let me answer the second part first. The second part is, like, can a guru initiate more disciples than he even can remember their names? And I think part of it is that the disciples asked for it. So it's hard for a guru to say no. When one guru was asked, "Why, how many disciples can you handle?" He said, "I can handle 200. And they said, "Well, how many do you have?" He said, "I have 2,000. And he said, "Why?" And he said, "Because they ask." You know, it's hard to say no. It's like, "Guru Maharaj, you're the only one. You're the only one. I can't, it's just you. It's you or suicide." You know? So what are you going to do? So, I have 450 million disciples, don't you? Yeah, it doesn't matter. I don't care. You'll never talk to me. Yeah, it doesn't matter. I'll never answer an email you send me. It doesn't matter. If the disciple is okay with that and is inspired, then, and the guru tells them that, you can hear from me, but it's going to be, in classes, and the disciple's okay, then that, it's not like you can control that. You can say, well, I don't think we should do that. I don't think any guru should have more than 150 disciples. That's like the maximum they can take care of. And it's probably true, right? Maybe 500, some university classes, you might have 500 students or something. 400, but not thousands and thousands. But you can't control that unless the GBC just says, after you make 100 disciples, your career is over. You don't initiate anymore. But then you end up with 10,000 Siksha disciples. So what's the difference? So your Siksha disciples aren't going to see you either. So it's really hard to control. The first half of the question is, a guru exceeding his authority with his disciple. I think what he means is, I think he means abusing his position, perhaps. Like, I am your guru. Whatever I say, you have to do. But Guru Maharaj, for this and that reason, I can't do it. I say, no, I'm your guru, you do it. That's it. It's like, you have to do what I say. Or, of course, generally that's true. But he's saying, does a guru have a right to push somebody to a point where it's unfair or unhealthy for that person? Does he have a right to exceed his authority? No, it's not. I mean, the ultimate job of a guru is to help a disciple become Krishna conscious. So if he does something, it doesn't help. What's the point? Even, it's like sometimes you give a lecture and everybody runs out screaming. And you say, well, I just was quoting Bhagavad Gita, what's the problem? Well, the problem is probably the way you quoted it and the way you explained it. So, it's not like, there's one devotee, I don't know what he wrote to Prabhupada, but Prabhupada said, if you express Krishna consciousness in a way that people can't digest it, accept it, then that's your failure. Well, I'm just preaching, parampara, bona fide. No, well, what's the point of your bona fide preaching if everyone runs away? So a guru will not think, well, I have the authority, whatever I say you have to do, and you have to listen. If I say up is down and down is up, and then it is. That is not going to work. I mean, in principle, disciple will follow the guru, but it doesn't give the guru right to abuse the disciple in the name of spiritual advancement. Because if you abuse the disciple and the disciple goes away, it's the same thing. Well, yeah, I just told you the right thing to do, but the result of it is you gave up, you sent me back your japa beads and retired, So you always want to see what is beneficial. The guru is interested in what is beneficial. The guru is not interested in fighting with his disciple. I'm right. No, Guru Maharaj, you're wrong. No, I'm right. No, Guru Maharaj, you're wrong. If I say up is down, and you're my disciple and say, well, actually, up is up and down is down. It's like, oh, okay. Maybe I was wrong. Oh, I'm sorry. I said up is down. I meant up is up. So, of course, a guru would be humble enough to acknowledge that if he's made a mistake or is not suitable for the disciple, it doesn't help them, then what's the point? And we have examples of that with Prabhupada. Then we could see Prabhupada was, one time, it's really interesting. A devotee came to Prabhupada and she was divorced, still, of course, young, as we all were. And she was thinking, well, I'm like 25 years old and I have a 1-year-old daughter or something. Some situation like that, like I'm going to live my life now single. I don't know if I should do it. And so she got to speak to Prabhupada about it. And he said something really interesting. He was asking her, after she asked him, he said, do you want me to tell you what to do? Or you just want some discussion, or do you want me to tell you? So he was like, where are you at? Like if you come to me, with a situation and I think, well, if I tell you what I think, I don't think you're going to be happy. I don't even know if you're going to do it, or I don't even know if that's what you're coming for. And I'm the guru, and you should do whatever I say. So Prabhupada's the guru of gurus. And he's saying something like, well, you want my opinion, or you want, what do you want? And so, and Prabhupada said, well, in my opinion, I think this would be best. So he still was leaving it open, because he wasn't even sure that a 25-year-old woman with a 1-year-old kid could remain unmarried her whole life. So he was saying, it's better if you don't remarry. That's what I would suggest, because she said, no, tell me what to do. So I said, this is what I would suggest. But it was still suggested in a way that was like, well, maybe you can't do that. So Prabhupada was like that, I think if you did an analysis of Prabhupada giving instruction, you would see those heavy instructions were generally reserved for sannyasis, GBCs, temple presidents, like people in the line of command who just, who couldn't be like, well, if you feel like being the temple president today, yeah, that would be good. You feel like, following your sannyas vows today, that would be nice. If you can't follow them tomorrow, well, we understand, you're just human. But with devotees in general, he was more like that. Not entirely, obviously, he didn't compromise our philosophy or principles, but he could kind of sense what somebody could do and how much he could ask of them. And one time, the Prabhupada came to Los Angeles, and he was visiting different departments. So he'd go into one department, like the art department. He said, "This is beautiful. You can just paint for Krishna. I become Krishna conscious just painting." Then he went to Golden Avatar Studios, where they were working on some music, and they recorded all of Prabhupada's lectures. And then he'd go there, and he'd see everything. He'd do his bhajan. They recorded. They'd play some music they had done. And Prabhupada would say, "Oh, this is so nice. Just sing for Krishna." And then he'd go to Spiritual Sky Incense. They'd show Prabhupada around. "This is what we're doing. These are the products," and so forth. And Prabhupada said, "Oh, that's so nice. Just do business for Krishna." In every department he'd go. It was like, "Yeah, all right, whatever. Whatever you do, this is nice. Do it for Krishna." He went, and then he spoke to the head Pujari, and he said, "Oh, you're taking care of the deity so nicely. You'll go back to Godhead for doing this seva." So it's like it wasn't like, "Well, sorry to tell you, you're taking care of the deities, but you're not on book distribution, so probably not in this life. I'm sorry, what can I do?" No, it wasn't like that. That's how we think, right? You have to do this, this, and this. Then you can go back to Godhead, where every department Prabhupada went to. Oh, then he went to the press, where they work on the layout of the books, say, "Oh, just, lay out books." It's like every department, just do this, you'll become perfect, whatever it is that you do, that you're inclined to do, you can do. So that's generally was Prabhupada's mood. But if you're like GBC, Sannyasi, we're doing this project, it's not like you just do whatever you want. Well, I need you to do this. That's, you're taking this position. It's like Mukunda Maharaj, he was a musician, and I think he wanted to do something musically or want to make a movie or something. But he was like, one of the leaders, Prabhupada was depending on. So it's like, don't do that. But with someone else, yeah, do that. So Guru should be sensitive to the disciple that he's dealing with. That's my answer. And of course, no one has a right to abuse anyone. But sometimes we might so-called abuse somebody, but we're just shaking them up because they need it. Sometimes nothing helps but shaking somebody up. I'm not saying that as a blanket statement. Go shake up everybody now. Go yell and scream at everybody. Take a stick, knock them in the head. That ought to get the message through. But sometimes that's the only thing that gets it through. I was trying to help a devotee. He wasn't behaving properly with the women, and the women were complaining that he's like, I guess they have a name for it now in the corporate world, right? If you're messing around, you're not like, what do they call harassment, right? Like sexual harassment. Just like saying something sexual, even if it's subtle. So he was kind of like that. At least that's what the women felt. Maybe it was just a vibration. So I tried to explain it to him. He said, this, therefore this. It was just like clear, and nice. I didn't chastise him. Next day, same problem. Next day, sit him down and say, it's this. You don't do that. You do this, you're not living in this temple. You don't do this, you're living in this temple. Solve the problem. That's the only way he could hear. So sometimes that's the only way somebody can hear. So you just have to take a stick and knock them in the head because that's good for them. But you're not doing it because you're angry or you feel like you have the right to abuse people because you're the guru. No, you do it because you think it's the best thing, not because you're angry. There's so many stories with Prabhupada. They said, Prabhupada was angry. And then when that situation was finished, it was like everything was fine. And then Prabhupada sometimes would say, I wasn't angry, but I needed to show you anger because you didn't understand, but don't take it that I was upset. I was just trying to instruct you. Because sometimes you don't get it unless someone goes, "Do you get it?" You know? "Do you understand what I said?" Right? And other times, "Do you understand what I said? Is that okay? Can you do it? Can I give you a hug?" So it just depends on the situation. So the teacher is just attached to helping the student in whatever way they can do it. But teacher should never think, "Well, I have a right to treat my student any way I feel because I'm the teacher and he's a student, and I can mistreat them and they just have to accept it." No, that's a good way for people to it's a good way to upset people and maybe upset their spiritual life. So I think that's what he was asking. Now we have another question. I have to translate it. It's in Spanish. Oh, no, I don't think. Mi nombre es Mary Gomez de España. That means my name is Marie from Spain, right? España. Sufro uno grave. You speak Spanish, anyone?
No.
I'm suffering from a disease that cancer, to some part of cancer. I have 550,000 euros in bank. I don't know. No entiendo nada.
No entiendo nada. I have nothing.
I understand nothing. I'm saying I don't understand. Nada. It sounds like, yeah, I don't know if it's real or not, or sounds like it. Yeah. Yeah. Sounds like an AI bot just, maybe, I don't know. That message has just disappeared. Yeah, okay. Anyone have questions here? Yes. Yeah.
When you mentioned that a devotee go to Prabhupada and he asked her, "Do you really want to know the answer?" And is that sometimes looks like someone come to you and ask to help, but through the saying the problem, you are feeling they want just to speak out. And
Just talk about the problem.
Yeah, just talk about it.
Oh, they don't want an answer.
Yeah. And you feel that they don't even getting to the answer mode. Just we can speak about it, show from
Yeah.
the directions. What to do? We need to ask them.
So the question is, what if somebody doesn't want your advice, but just wants to hear, just wants you to hear? Yeah, that's also service. Because sometimes they don't need advice; they just need to talk about it. And if you listen, they can talk. And a lot of times they resolve the issue by talking, or they process it, or they process the emotions around it, or they get clarity on it. Yeah, it's easy. You don't have to do anything. Just listen. Sometimes what I do, sometimes when I listen to people and I see that they're either have answered they've solved the problem themselves, but maybe sometimes they don't realize it. And I say, "Well, what you're saying is this, this, and this." And sometimes they'll say, "Oh," it's kind of like, they don't say this, but it's like, "Oh, is that what I said?" And like, I just feed it back to them. Like it may be a solution, or it may be that they just said something that's illogical. So what you're saying is this, but you said this and this. And they don't realize they said it. And when I say it back to them, they're like, "Oh, that doesn't make sense, does it?" I say, "I don't think so." And so sometimes it's just, you feed back. So what you're saying is this, this, and this. You give them clarity on what they're saying. Sometimes that helps. You can feedback how they feel. You can just feedback what they say. But a lot of times I find that they don't realize what they're saying, and I just explain it. Say, well, what you're telling me is this. And like, it's kind of like they're telling me something which they think is a solution, but when I feed it back, they can see it's not a solution at all. It's like, it's just a dead end. And they're like, so you're telling me this, that, and that, and they'll say, oh, I guess that doesn't make sense, does it? I say, I don't think so. So I just fed it back to them so they could see it. Because, Krishna's in our heart, so he can help us figure things out. So sometimes, so you're saying this, 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 this. So I'm just like laying it out. This is what you just told me. So what do you think you should do? It's like, oh, I didn't really understand it that way. Well, that's what you just told me. But even though you told me, you didn't understand it until I fed it back to you. So sometimes it's like that. Isn't that interesting? Sometimes you can't understand something until someone feeds back what you just told them. And then you tell it back to them, and now they're hearing it from you. It sounds different from what they said it to you. And although you're saying the same thing. Interesting, isn't it? Okay. Anything else?
You said that the Guru traditionally was preaching only for disciples because we can listen, and now it's like preaching open worldwide, like technology helps spread. Is it that still the same principle? Who starts to listening, it's becoming disciple?
Well, the difference is that Mahaprabhu's movement is open for everyone. Whereas in traditional culture, even like Shudras couldn't hear. They could. So it was kind of like hearing from the Guru was like entering a university. So, the women didn't live in the Guru's ashram. Usually it's only Brahmin, Kshatriya boys, maybe Vaishya boys also, no Shudras. So it was like entering a university. Okay, now you enter, we've qualified you, you've paid your fees, you have a certain grade average, you passed tests, okay, we'll talk to you. So Mahaprabhu comes and it's like, okay, forget that. Nobody's going to, if we do that system, the universities will be empty. Nobody's qualified. So we just have to go, okay, you're not qualified, so what do we do? We're going to do something. We're going to shake it up here. We're going to give you like Gopi Bhav. So you're not even qualified to go to a community. What do you have here? Like community college, like you have universities. But if you can't get in university, you go into you have those in your country?
Yes.
Like they're less expensive. The professors aren't as good and like that. So you don't even have the qualification to get into that school. So we're just going to let you all go to Harvard. It's like that. That's what Mahaprabhu did. So it doesn't make any sense anymore. And it's interesting because sometimes you'll read something in Shastra and Shastra will say, this is how it is. But you think and say, but it's not like that. Shastra says it's like that, but it's not like that. Well, why isn't it like that? Well, it's because Mahaprabhu's here, so it doesn't work anymore. Because if you have to make it strict, then everybody misses out. Oh, there's no. You want to go the qualification of who can go to Harvard? Well, things have become so bad. Maybe by the year, 3000, no one's brain will work well enough to even be allowed in Harvard. So now what do we do? Everybody's like graduating high school and they can't even read and they don't even know how to count. What to do? AI has taken over. They don't need to learn anything. They just tell me how to do this. And AI just, I don't have to tell you. I'll just do it for you. So no one's brain works. There's something like that. So now what do we do? We're gonna let you into Harvard and we're gonna train your brain in Harvard to work. So we're gonna let everyone into Harvard and you're gonna learn how to be a devotee. And now, so then technically speaking, when you get initiated, it's like, okay, I'm qualified to hear, I'm following principles, I can make advancements, so the investment of the Guru is worth it. So we're gonna let you stay in Harvard, but after 3 years and you're still failing all your classes, okay, you're not gonna get initiated. Come back when you're ready, like that. So, Prabhupada's mood was, give it to everybody, see what happens. Here, chant Hare Krishna. We're not going to qualify you, just chant. let's see what happens. Maybe, you'll take initiation at some point. Maybe you won't. But Prabhupada said, we're not going to give Gayatri second initiation. That's different. You have to definitely be qualified for that. First initiation, we'll give it more easily. We'll let you, Prabhupada said, we'll give it and let you try. Some qualification, but we'll let you try. Second initiation, no trying. You have to. You have to be a Brahmin. Otherwise, what's the point? All right?
Can I add a small thing to the last point?
Yeah.
Right? So, and also, you spoke about Mahaprabhu, no qualification, no discrimination, everybody can join. And what I like about this age or this movement is they brought in the mercy component, the mercy. You just do service for me. Don't worry about your study or becoming a professor or whatever. Don't worry about, and don't put your energy in that. Do something for me, and it's the mercy that will and will bring
your heart.
The compliment of very merciful days. My Guru Maharaj always said, don't think you can make it on your own, and even if you know everything and you do your service perfectly and whatever, and you follow my instruction, whatever service you do, all the shastras by heart, ultimately it's only the mercy of the Parampara, the Gurus, the mercy of the six Goswamis, Prabhupada,
totally, yeah.
the mercy which will bring back to Krishna. You have to do your endeavors.
What we can do on our own is birth, old age, disease, and death unlimitedly. That's what we can do. If you want to do better than that, you need mercy.
Yes.
That's a good mantra, huh? What can you do on your own? Well, you can do birth, old age, disease, and death really well. We're professionals in that department. We have another comment or question. I heard with first initiation, the disciple accepts the guru, and with second initiation, the guru accepts the disciple. I never heard that. I hope that's not true. Do I accept you as my disciple? No, not yet. You got to get second initiation. Now, Prabhupada said first initiation is most important because it's the holy name that. It's all about the holy name. Second initiation is nice if you can do it. Go for it.
But many gurus don't give second initiation easily. Like my daughter Kirti Kumari is a disciple of Bhakti Chandra Swami, and she got her second initiation only because she they asked her to do puja in Zurich. And to the pujari, and that was the criteria for teacher.
Yeah, some gurus will only give second if you're doing pujari work. Some will give it if they feel you can benefit from it. It's a hierarchy thing also. If you're like teaching, you should be a Brahmin, right? If you're going to be giving classes like the VHE or MIHE. There's all these Brahmin students and you're not. It's like, We have another one. When someone comes to us for advice, comfort, relief, what is the best way to support them? I may give some advice based on my experience and opinions and try to bring, try to bring it back to Krishna, Prabhupada. And they may appreciate and feel comforted, but in these situations, I am worried about potentially misguiding. I would like to be able to help. Yeah, I don't think you should advise anyone anything unless you're sure it's going to help them. At least you can ask them, does this help? Or what I often do, say, well, this is my experience. See if it works. If I'm not 100% sure, I'll say, this is my experience, or this is the experience of many people. see if it works for you. If you're doubtful that your instruction is useful. But it's always good to ask. You give some advice. Is this helpful? So Gaia, I'm asking, is my answer helpful? That's my instruction, but I don't know if it's helpful. But if it's helpful, use it. Okay, we're going to end here. Hare Krishna. So we'll give class every day at this time. We'll try to put it on Zoom also and Facebook.
Yes.
Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada.